Okay, good morning, guys. I hope I'm audible. Hmm? Okay, so we'll start 10:03. So 11:03. So 3 minutes has been passed. So we can officially start the lecture. Okay, let me just hope I'm audible. Let me know if I'm not. You cannot hear me. Today I will not play any video, but today is the last lecture for unit number 4, Power School. Okay. I hope I'm audible. I am not getting any response from you guys. I don't know whether you guys are there or not. But if you guys are there, just let me know whether you can hear me. Okay. So Kunal is saying it's okay. He can hear me. So I'll continue. So I'll start the lecture when with the sharing. Okay. Nikita also said. So I'll share my notes as usual. Okay. Hope my notes are visible. So today is our last lecture for unit number 4. We have covered almost everything, whatever asked by the university as per the syllabus. Only some theoretical part is remaining, and we'll talk about it today. That is recirculating a ball screw. We'll talk about the ball screw and also compound screw. So we'll talk about those two today, and I think we'll finish the lecture with one example. Okay. So, and at the end, I will, if possible, I will take a wrap up. Okay. So, let's start with I think, the conceptual part. That is, what is differential and compound screw. So, basically, these are the two things which we will be covering: differential and compound screw, and recirculating ball screw, and then we'll take a numerical. Okay, and then we'll wrap up this unit number. For as per the university, we're supposed to take six lectures, but I took one extra lecture because I wanted to cover a couple of numericals. Okay. So now, what is differential? As the name suggests, differential or compound. It is basically, as the name suggests, the differential means there is a difference between. We'll get a difference movement or the movement. What you can say, small movement if it is required or is expected, then we'll use differential or compound screw. Okay. So what it is a mechanical device consisting of two screws in series, which are arranged in such a way that the resultant motion is different. So as I said, the resultant motion is a difference between the motion of the screws. So if we have two screws, or like say we have a requirement like in a vernier caliper or in a small precision instruments or like CNC machine or a missile projector. So something like that where we need very like very small precision is also very important. That time, the regular this thing screws will not work because they have a friction between the threads and very high precision is difficult to achieve. Okay, and also to have a small precision, we have to reduce the pitch between two consecutive threads, right? So if we reduce it too much, what will happen? The thickness of the pitch will come down, and because of that, it will become weak. So it will not perform the work it is supposed to do. So because of the weakness, they will undergo wear and tear very fast. So that is one disadvantages with the small pitch. And also there is another way to do it, having multi-starting, but multi-start threads have a disadvantage of they don't have self locking is an issue with them. So to avoid all this, we use differential screw. Means I explained you basically what is the need or where we need differential screw. So basically we have two screws as shown in the diagram. If you see it, we have two screws attached to one another. Okay, and they have like with the rotation of one screw, the other screw will move and it will also rotate. It will have a movement as well as it will have a rotation. And if you put something on the other screw, you will get a differential movement. Okay. Now I will explain with the example. So as you know, the F is a frame in the diagram I am shown. I have shown you in the diagram there are two things are there. So first thing is the differential screw, And the first diagram, and second is the difference of screw jack. I have taken an example where if you rotate it, you will get the moment of the screw by using differential principle. Okay. So if you take the take a look at the A example A, differential screw. Okay. Here screw one has a pitch of 4. Okay. So what happened now? Frame is fixed. Frame is fixed to the table or anything, something like that. Okay. So if you rotate screw one, with the one rotation, it will go on the left hand side by 4 mm. Okay. So because of the pitch is 4 mm. Now, since S2 is attached to S1, it will obviously go on the same direction by 4 mm, right? But also it will rotate by one rotation. Okay, I will repeat again. We have two screws S1 and S2. S1 is larger, S2 is smaller. And pitch of S1 is 4 mm and pitch of S2 is 3 mm. So if we rotate, this S1 is fixed to a frame, not fixed in the sense it rotates in a frame, and S2 is fixed to S1. And there is a nut which is resting on S2. If you see the side view, it is square shaped nut. So that means it will not have a rotary motion, but it can have a sliding motion. Okay. So N will not have any rotary motion. It cannot rotate, but it can slide left or right. Okay. Now we are rotating screw one by the use of handle. If we rotate it by one or rotation, S1 will go to the left by 4 mm, right? Because the pitch of S1 is 4 mm. So one rotation movement by one pitch, that is 4 mm. Now since S2 is attached to S1, it will also move ahead by 4 mm and also it will rotate by one rotation, right? But pitch of S2 is 3 mm and N1 is in such a way that it can slide on S2. So because of this, but N1 cannot rotate. So it will not go on the left hand side, but it will come on the left. See, now if the S2 is not moving, then N1 will go on the left hand side by 4 mm. But since it is also have moment 4 mm because of S1, and because of S2, pitch of S2 is 3 mm and S2 is also rotating by one rotation. It will go on the right hand side by 3 mm. So N is effectively going on the left by 4 mm and going and on the right hand side by 3 mm. So ultimately, final movement of N nut will be 1 mm, which is difference of 4 minus 3. So this is the what the differential score. So if we need in one rotation a movement of 1 mm, so we will use a combination like this. If we need a one rotation, it should move by 0.25 mm. Then we will have 4 mm and 3.75. So like this, we can have a small precision with the use of compound screw without compromising with the thickness of the or the pitch of the threads. Are you getting it? So this is how the differential screw works. Very simple mechanism. Okay, I will this here also differential screw jack is also shown. Now with the compound screw, now this is what differential screw. Again, I will repeat the definition. Differential screw is defined as mechanical devices having two screws in series, which are arranged in such a way that the resultant motion is the difference between the two screws. So resultant motion is 1 minus 1. Okay, 1 minus 2. So what is compound screw is defined as mechanical devices consisting of two screws in series which are arranged in such a way that resultant motion is sum of individual motion. So what is compound screw? Compounding means you are adding it. So differential means difference and compounding means adding. So if here if we have a screw if we change the direction of the screw S2, then it will go 4 plus 3 is 7 mm. So if we want a large moment, then again we can use compound screw. Okay. So this is how differential or compound screw works, right? Only difference in now between the differential screw and the compound screw, there are two diagrams are there. Only difference is here, right hand, this pitch is 4 mm for the S1, but both of them are right-handed, and this S2 is 3 mm pitch, but one is right and one is left. So if the angle is opposite, right? If the one is right-handed, one is left-handed, then it will add and we will have a compound screw. And if they are same, then it will subtract and they will have a differential screw. Okay. So it is as simple as that, the concept of differential and compound screw. Okay. I will show you a small video just to get a picture. Let me just start that video. and I will share that with you. Okay, I'm sharing, stopping the sharing of this thing because I would like to share a YouTube video. Just it's 1 minute video. It's not going to take too much of the time, but I will get a concept of the. I hope now this video is, you can see the video. I will start it from the start. So now see with the rotation of this thing, it is rotating, and we will have a this yellow thing is moving. If it is having a same angle, it will move with a very small distance, and if it is the opposite, it will have a compound effect. Okay, this is how the differentials will look. Okay, now let's go back to our notes. Okay, so I think we are back. Okay, so now let's see the. Okay, I hope you guys are clear with the what is compound and what is differentials. Now let's see what is recirculating ball screw. Now ball screw is means it's a screw where we use ball, right? And why recirculating means because we cannot give the ball in infinite number of balls, so we'll use the same number of balls by recirculation of them, right? So what is the? It is a basically it is a screw where we want very small. Where the expectation is that we want very small friction, like say CNC, like we want very small friction, very precision calculation of precision movement. That time we use recirculating screw. Problem with recirculating ball screw is it is they are costly, but they give very they have more strength and they have precision movement, less friction. So they are advantages in many ways, but the disadvantage is their cost. Okay, so how it look like? See here, like yeah, the grooves on the on the screw, like we have a groove which is having a semi-circular shape. That so the balls move through it and they circulate. So with this, if we have say we want on CNC machine very precision movement of the lathe. So if we use our normal Acme's thread, then the because of the friction, we cannot get the precision movement. Okay. So, but instead of that, if we use a ball screw, so like we will be we'll put our lathe tool on the top of this nut. Okay, here. So if we put it here with the movement of these balls, we'll have a very precise and very like friction, almost frictionless movement of the tool with the help of ball screw. Are you getting it? So with the rotation of the screw, or this nut will move in very precise and smooth way because of the balls. Because balls are very small friction, and the lubrication is better. The friction is very small. They have better strength and precision is high. Okay, the concept is very simple. I have also shown the diagram. I got it from Wikipedia. So like this is actual image of a ball screw. If you see, these are the grooves provided for the. If you see, I will increase the what you can say image size. If you see here, now because of this, the balls can move and recirculate because of this mechanism. Okay, so with the simple these screws, we'll make sure that this thing which through which the balls will pass, so, half the balls will smoothly pass through it, and we'll have a recirculation of the balls. You see the ball circulation visible here. Okay, so this is how the recirculating balls ball screw will work. So, like the grooves are circular shape. There are some advantages. The friction is very less, so because of that, efficiency is very high. Like there is a because of now in the normal screw we have a stick slip, means because of this coefficient of friction we get stick and then we slip, that kind of concept. This is not there here because the contact the friction happen at the contact. Okay, at the point or line. uh, General normal screws we have to adjust for wear and tear now and then. These screws we don't need to, then they have large capacity carrying. So for the disadvantage, as I said, most the biggest disadvantage, they are costly to manufacture. They are then another is they are prone to buckling. They also they are they are what their disadvantage they have is that if there is a dust or cleanliness is not there, cleanliness, then they will not work properly. So these are the some of the what you can say examples for the reciprocating ball screw, and where they are used in aircraft missile, as I said, automobile steering gears, we use ball screws. Power actuator, CNC machines, aircraft landing gear. Means these are all precise, and where we need a very precise movement and less friction, there we use this reciprocating ball screw. Okay, the simple concept is there where we have a as is shown in the figure, we have a screw and nut, and there will be balls. Balls will pass through. They have a, screw will have a circular groove, half circular, and the balls will pass through them and have a frictionless movement. Okay, so this is the concept of ball screw. Again, I will show you one video to make your concepts clear. Okay, so let me just stop sharing this and share my YouTube video with you. Okay, this is SKF ball screw. Okay, so we have one more video. Okay, I hope your concept is now clear. Okay, again we'll go back to our. So we talked about differential and compound screw and recirculating ball screw. I hope your concept is clear on that. Okay, any doubt you can ask me. We have only 6 participants today, which is a really pathetic job considering, I took a huge effort in creating the notes and all that, and performance is, the guys are not interested in attending the lecture. Anyway, so okay, let's go back to where we were. So I hope there is no doubt because nobody is saying anything in the chat, nothing in the chat. So I hope our, this is the way we close the chapter. We'll take one numerical, quick numerical, okay, and then we'll try to close it in last 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. So I have taken a numerical. This is a shaft straightener. So basically, we have a shaft. Sometimes what happens, they bend, and we have to straighten them. So we have to put a force on top of it. We have to put a load on top of it, and with that we straighten the shaft. So we have a start straightener which is having a V groove. In that shaft will reside, and we will push it with a force with the hand wheel and with the use of this straightener. Okay. So this is the what you can say diagram of the shaft straightener. Now we'll take a look at the numerical. A construction of shaft straightener used to shaft floor is shown below. The square thread has single start square threads of 80 nominal diameter. So we know that the threads used in the straighteners, like here, we are using a screw. They have a single start and the 80 nominal diameter. Nominal means outside diameter is 80 and 10 pitch. So if we want mean diameter, it will be 80 minus half of 10. So it will be 75 mm. Anyway, we'll see. So we have D, small d as 80 mm, P as 10 mm, and we want to exert an axial force of 10 kilonewton. So we, with this straightener, we want to have an axial force of 10 kilonewton. Okay. The mean radius of the friction collar is 30 mm. Now we are using a friction collar here, if you see here, and the mean radius there is 30 mm. So we have not given max. So generally what we do, we take max, mean, and outside, inside, and we'll take an average of that, right? Di plus, we have mu m into what you can say. There we use di plus do by 4, right? So if it is what you can say, mu m into w in by 4 into di plus do. So instead of that, we'll use mean radius here. Axial length of the nut is 40 mm. So L is given as what you can say, moment of this nut is 40 mm. Coefficient of friction between the threads is 0.12. Uh, so mu is 0.12, and the mean diameter of the rim of the hand wheel is 500 mm. So we have given for this handle and wheel, the diameter is given as 500 mm. So R is 250 mm. So if we put the effort P into 250 will be the input torque. So we would like to match that with MTT. So how we will attack this problem? We know MTT is equal to MT plus MTC. MT is load required to effort required to raise or lower the load, plus MTC is collar friction torque, right? So for that, we know now all the information, whatever is required is there. So we'll use MT, we'll find out MT, we'll find out MTC, and we'll combine them to get MTT, and we'll use that to match our input torque. Input torque will be P effort into 250. Okay. Now what we would like to calculate, force exerted at the rim of the, means what is the effort required at the rim to drive the screw, right? Efficiency of the straightener. Efficiency is output upon input. Output is W into L. Input is okay. The bearing. What we have to find out, bearing pressure is okay. Out is this will 2 pi into torque will be your input. So we'll divide those and we'll get the efficiency. Bearing pressure of the threads in the nut is we have to calculate. This is what we have seen in the a couple of lecture backs. Bearing pressure of is the pressure on the threads. It will be pi by 4. I think d square minus d root square, d core. Pi by 4 pi by 4 d square minus dc square. That will be the area. W upon that will be the bearing pressure. This will be the for one thread multiplied by number of threads will get the total. Now, how this length is significant? With the length of the nut 40 mm, we'll get how many threads are there. Okay, that's why if the pitch is 10, then with this we can get how many threads are there. So that will be here, useful here. So we'll find out area of which having a bearing load pi by 4 d square minus dc square into z will be this, and that will be the total area taking the bearing pressure. Okay, so this is how we'll attack the problem. So we will write down first what is given. Okay, so given is load is 10 kilonewton. That is what we want. Screw is the diameter is d is given, nominal diameter. Length is equal to lead is equal to pitch is equal to 10 mm. Mu is 0.12. For collar, mean diameter is given, di plus do by 2, and mu is again same. And for nut, length is given 40 mm because this is required to find out number of threads. And hand wheel diameter is given 500, so R is equal to 250 mm. Okay, so this is how we will attack the problem now. First, we'll find out the DM, mean diameter, as I said, 80 minus 0.5 of half of the pitch. So that will be 75 mm. So with this, we get the diameter, mean diameter, and tan alpha is equal to L upon pi dm. So L is given, L is equal to lead or pitch is equal to 10 upon pi dm. Pi dm is 75. Okay. So with that, we will get alpha as 2.43. So helix angle or the angle of the helix for the screw is 2.43 degrees, right? And then we want to find out the angle of the friction, tan phi is equal to mu. So with that, we'll get phi as 6.843. Okay, here it is symbolic change. Let me just modify that in my notes. Okay, so we got phi, we got alpha. Alpha is 2.43. which is using formula L upon pi dm, and phi using tan phi is equal to mu. So we got 6.843. Okay, so we got both these angles. Now we will try to find out the loads, the torque. Now empty, this torque required to raise or lower will be W into dm by 2 tan phi plus alpha. We know because this is what you can say raising the load. So it will be W is given as 10 into 10 raised to 3, that is 10 kilonewton, right? Dm is given, and we have found out phi and alpha. So with this we can find out the torque required to raise the load will be 61,227 Newton mm. Okay, clear? So we have found out using MT W into dm by 2 tan phi plus alpha. Now we will find out MTC, collar friction torque, that is also given, right? So mean diameter is given, that is basically do plus di by 2, right? So we'll try to find out what you can say mean collar torque MTC. MTC will be mu c into W by 4 di plus do by do plus di, right? So basically do plus di by 4 is equal to your RM, mean diameter, right? Okay, and here here it is RM, mean radius is taken. Okay, so we'll get MTC as mu c into W into RM, or this is equal to di plus do by 4. Okay, so 0.12 into, so mu c is 0.12 given, W is 1 10 raised to 10 into 10 raised to 3, I think, right? This is not 5, and into 30. So this should be, so what we MTC we will get? We'll get at 3600. So this is 0.12 into 30 will be 3.6. 3.6 into 10, 36. So this is 10 raised to 3. Let me just modify that because it's a typo from my side. Okay, so we got MTC, collar friction torque as 36,000 Newton mm. So we got MT 61,000, MTC 36,000, and now the total torque will be addition of these two, like 36 plus 61,000. So we'll get 97,227. This is the torque which is required to overcome the friction of between the threads and friction between the collar, right? So now we will this will be matched with this is the torque we have to give at the handle or with the handle. So handle torque is load or P we are effort we are going to put into 250. 250 is, as I said, 500 is the diameter, so 250 will be R. So this will be equal to total torque required to resist all the friction. So P effort required is 388 Newton. So we would like we need to have an effort of 388 Newton, 388.91 Newton at the handle to overcome both this friction of threads and collar, right? So this is the effort we required at the handle. Okay. Now efficiency, as I said, efficiency is output upon input. Output is load into whatever distance load moves in one rotation. Load is 10 into 10 raised to 3 into 10 is the lead upon 2 pi torque. Input torque is 970,000. We have just 97,227.70. So if we do this calculation, we'll get efficiency as 16.1637. So 16.37. Okay. So we got the efficiency of the thread, efficiency of the straightener as 16.37. And now, as I said, last we have to find out the bearing pressure. Further, we have to find out what is the area, right? So number of threads now, as I said, length of this is given 40, pitches is 10. What the distance it moves in one rotation. So 40 upon 10 is 4 threads are there. So no, we have a combination. We have 4 threads, and this is okay. DC is equal to D minus P. So 80 minus 10 is the what you can say core diameter, because we have to find mean diameter is D minus half P and core diameter is D minus P. So outside diameter or the nominal diameter is 80, inside diameter core diameter is 70. So we know now we have the inside diameter and outside diameter, core diameter and nominal diameter, and so we use this formula, right? So W4 into W upon pi Z. So pi by 4, pi by 4. This formula is what? W upon pi by 4 D square minus DC square into Z. That is what we talked about, right? So it will be 4W upon pi Z D square minus DC square. If we put the values, W 10 into 10 raised to 3, D as 80 and DC as 70, will get bearing pressure is 2.12 Newton per mm square. So this is what the bearing pressure on the threads. This is how we will basically solve this problem. Okay. So we have taken a numerical in which, basically we have seen to find out the total torque or effort required, and also we have seen efficiency and importantly how to calculate the bearing pressure in a thread. Okay, so this is how we will wrap up this unit. So basically what we have seen is we started this unit with the introduction of the power screws. What are the power screws, or basically what is the screw? Then nomenclature of the screw, and then we move to screws. What is the requirement or why we need power screws? We have taken example of power screws. Then different forms, like so what are the shapes they takes? It may be acme, it may be square threads or buttress threads. Okay, we have gone in detail in that. Then we have gone through what is single thread and multi-start thread terminology, or what is pitch, what is lead is equal to number of starts into pitch, what is core diameter, what is nominal diameter, what is mean diameter of the screw. We have seen that also, right? So what is helix angle? Helix is equal to L upon pi dm. L is lead upon pi dm is what is L? Lead is by distance it moves in one rotation. L upon pi dm. Dm is the mean diameter, right? So we have seen the helix angle alpha. Also, no, then we have seen some acme threads, power screws. What are the power screws applications? All that we have seen. Then we have seen torque analysis. We started working on the torque analysis. Here, importantly, we have seen the how to calculate mean diameter. Mean diameter is the outside diameter, nominal diameter minus half p. Core diameter is equal to d minus p. Then we have seen here tan alpha is equal to L upon pi dm, right? So with that, we can calculate alpha. Then we have seen the power required or torque required to raise or lower the load for the square thread. It was MT W into dm by 2 tan phi plus alpha to raise, and W into dm by 2 tan phi minus alpha to lower the load. We have seen in details how we came up with this formulas. And for trapezoidal threads, it was MT was W into dm by 2 mu sec theta minus upon 1 plus mu sec theta tan alpha, right? And efficiency was tan alpha into 1 minus mu sec theta tan alpha upon mu sec theta tan alpha plus tan alpha. Then we have seen what is self-locking screw. To raise the load, to lower the load, we need a torque of W into dm by 2 tan phi minus alpha. And if the phi is more than alpha, then it's okay. But phi is less than, like angle of friction is less than angle of helix, then the torque is not required to lower the load, and it will be a problem. So we have seen self-locking screw. We have seen what is anti-screwdriver, and we have seen that for self-locking, phi must be greater than alpha, greater than or equal to alpha. So tan phi is must be greater than equal to tan alpha. Tan phi is mu, coefficient of friction, and tan alpha is equal to L upon pi dm. So we have seen the concept of self-locking, then we have seen collar friction torque. We use uniform wear theory generally. Uh, then empty torque, uh, collar friction torque is mu c into W upon 4 into di plus 0. We have just used that in a numerical. And then total torque is equal to MT plus MTC. Okay, we took a couple of numericals, and then we have seen the efficiency. Efficiency of a square thread is tan alpha upon tan phi plus alpha, right? So generally it is max efficiency is 1 minus sin phi upon 1 plus sin phi. For square thread, it is efficiency is half minus, it is less than half minus tan square phi upon 2. For trapezoidal threads, efficiency is tan alpha into 1 minus mu sec theta tan alpha upon mu sec theta plus tan alpha. Overall efficiency, total torque is MTT is equal to MT plus MTC. And overall efficiency is output upon input. Work output is load we are raising with the distance of L, W into L. Input is input torque, total torque into 2 pi. Okay, that's what we have seen. Then we have seen what is how can we design, what are different kinds of stresses. Screw will undergo like it will undergo shear stress, it will undergo compressive stress, torsional shear, basically the root of the core diameter, and then we'll use a combination of principal stresses to calculate the stress, total stress in a screw. Then it will also undergo shear. The formula for that is pi dc, core diameter. This is the perimeter into thickness multiplied by number of thread. W upon that will be your shear stress. Similarly, for nut, W upon pi D, instead of D, we'll take outside diameter, right? And just now we have taken example of bearing pressure will be W upon pi by 4 D square minus D square into Z. Okay, these are the stresses in a screw. Then we have taken example of design of the clamp. Then we have seen a screw jack. We have gone through the detailed procedure of screw jack. It will have a frame, screw, nut, and this cup. And we have seen a design of all that. We have taken a 9 steps approach to design a screw jack. In that basically we have seen first step will be what is the requirement, then selection of the material, general consideration, then design. We have to design screw and nut. We have seen the traces in screw and nut in this prior topic. We'll use that to design screw and nut, design of the cup, design of the handle, and then lastly safety. Important aspect is safety aspect. So this is the way we have taken, we have seen design of a screw jack. Okay, then we have taken example like today's example of here we have also found out the bearing pressure in a screw. We have taken example of shaft straightener. We have given a we found out what is the effort required to for a particular load, and at the same time we have found out efficiency and also the bearing pressure on the threads. And lastly, in today's lecture, we have seen what is the differential and compound screw. If there is a differential moment, then we have a differential screw. And if we have an additional moment, we have a compound screw. Okay, we have seen videos for those. And lastly, we have seen recirculating ball screw. What is ball screw? How we use it? Where we use it? And how it works? And we have seen a video on that also. Okay, so this is the how way we will wrap this unit number 4. I think I tried to cover each and everything whatever is expected as per the syllabus. Okay, let me just quickly. Okay, I'm just stopping the sharing of this. Okay, let me just open syllabus and see whether we have missed anything. This is what we should do at the end of. Actually, generally my notes, if you see my notes, chances of missing any topic are very rare. But let's see that. Let me just say, because we have one more minute. So I'm just what is the attendance? The attendance is still poor. Okay. Okay. So I'll just quickly, because we have 1 minute 20 seconds, I will quickly go through the syllabus. Forms of the threads we covered, multiple starts we know, torque analysis and design of power screws with square and trapezoidal threads. So both this we have seen the design, raise and lowering the load. We have found out the torque required, empty, collar friction torque and total torque. We have seen self-locking screw, why it is required, how it works. We have seen collar friction torque. We have seen stresses in power screws, like what are the differences, shear stress, compound stress, like principal stress. Okay, we have seen that. We have seen taken numerical on the design of C clamp. We have seen a complete procedure of design of a screw jack. Today we have seen differential and compound screw and recirculating ball screw, theoretical. These are the only theoretical parts are there. So we have covered that. So as per the syllabus, we have covered each and everything. So today we have done with the 4 units. From the next lecture, we will start with unit number 5, that is threaded and bolted. Okay. So I hope you guys followed me. So thank you guys. Any doubt, any question, you can ask me. Thank you. Thank you, Simran. Anything doubt, ask me. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you.